going on, and I would support a ceasefire and try to find a way out of this morass, because my fear is that if nothing is done and this continues, that the entire region will end up at war with Israel. And let me just divert for a second and give you an appreciation for this. The Turks, there are almost 90 million of them in Anatolia. The Turkish state can field 2 million men under arms in its army in the space of a month if it wants to. Has a very effective reserve mobilization program. It has not only the largest army in NATO, but perhaps one of the very best. And the Turks are ferocious fighters. They have a very large navy. They paraded 100 ships through the Bosporus to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Turkish Republic after World War I. Mr. Erdogan, the president of Turkey, has said very clearly that as far as he's concerned, Netanyahu is no longer a discussion partner for the Muslim world. Mr. Netanyahu is a war criminal and must be removed. He's also said that the Israelis have nuclear weapons, and if they think 100 nuclear weapons are going to save them from what they are doing, they are wrong. And the implication is that the Turks, if they need it, can get a nuclear weapon from Pakistan that would essentially deter the Israelis from using anything against them. Finally, he has said that there will be justice. Justice will come to those who are committing these crimes, and eventually Turkish soldiers will fight in Gaza. Now, that's pretty frightening stuff.
Right.
The Turks are not Arabs. The Turks are a very sophisticated crowd. They have excellent equipment. They're very capable people. Standing next to them, but much quieter on the world stage at the moment, is Iran. And for reasons that I think are completely insane, people are talking about attacking Iran as though Iran is responsible for what's happening. Iran has nothing to do with what's happening right now. And the Iranians would very much like to stay out of it. But for one reason or another, the usual suspects that got us into Ukraine and failed over there are trying now desperately to drag us into war with Iran. We don't seem to understand that the entire Muslim world is watching. And the proxy forces, or what I would call the irregular forces inside the Arab world, they're already engaged. They're attacking U.S. forces, or perhaps 5,000 of us in Iraq, another 2,000 in Syria. These are penny packets, small elements inside little bases that are very difficult to defend. And I'm sure that if they really want to overwhelm these bases, they'll be able to do it. I think the Iranians would like to stay out. But if we provoke and precipitate an event with Iran, you have the potential for Iran and Turkey to both align for the first time, I would argue, in perhaps 1,000 years or more, against Israel, as well as us. It's not a question of can we win? No, there's not much for us to win, frankly, in a fight like that. But the issue is for Israel. Can Israel survive this? And my concern is probably not. If you look at the arsenal of missiles at Iran's disposal, they could probably level most of Israel in the space of a few hours. They have the tactical and theater ballistic missiles to do that. Now, can Israel respond with a nuclear weapon? I'm sure they could, but I don't see how that's going to help their position. Then, of course, we can go back and talk about the potential for the Turks to intervene and how devastating that could be. Then we're talking about losing access to the Straits of Hormuz that could be closed, the Suez Canal could be closed, and the world could be sent into an economic catastrophe, especially for us, but more particularly for the Europeans. I don't see anything good coming out of this.
And there's not a lot of regional countries that would come to Israel's aid over there, is there, really?
Nobody will. In fact, I would argue that at this point, we are Israel's only friend. And that's why I've said from the beginning, if we genuinely care about Israel and support it, want it to survive, as a friend, we're obligated to save Israel from itself and dissuade them from persisting in this policy that will lead to their destruction. But, I hold a minority opinion, and there are lots of foolish people in Washington that are beating the drums for war and think this is a wonderful opportunity to settle accounts with the whole world and restore unchallenged American military hegemony.
Doesn't Israel have other friends like Germany that said, hey, we'll take all the refugees, so we'll go ahead and get some planes ready for the Gazans, right?
No, I don't think so. I think the Germans have had it with refugees. I think Europe has had it with refugees. They've got a war inside Europe that they're fighting, and it's only going to get worse. So no, I don't see anybody else in a position to really help or assist Israel at all, except for us. And how much can we do? I mean, David, do we have an army at all? I mean, it was down to something like 450,000. How much of it is actually capable of fighting is open to question. How many units do we have? Formations trained, ready to go. We've got formations strewn out across Romania, uh, Slovakia, Poland, the Baltic littoral, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. What are they doing? How do we move them quickly? I don't have a good feeling about any of it. And increasingly, you're talking about carrier battle groups to ensure that they don't become targets and we don't lose ships at sea. You have to park them at sea at a very long distance from Israel.
Yeah.
And that means that their ability to sustain any kind of air power over land for any length of time is very restricted. So,
How far away is
I
the
don't
closest
see
ship?
good news.
How far away is the closest carrier ship to Israel? Do you know? Or,
I don't know right now, and if I knew, I would not say so on the air.
yeah, I don't know. I thought they were over in the in the Mediterranean right now, and
Well, they are, but
yeah,
there's a big difference between sitting a few miles offshore, which you
yeah.
could do 50 years ago,
Oh, okay.
and today you can't do that.